Paul's letter to the Romans, truth number 38. The book of Romans is pro-Torah. Many consider Paul's epistle to the Romans the greatest book of the New Testament. It is thought of as the most profound, most fundamental, and most comprehensive doctrinal statements of the entire Bible. Arguably, no epistle has influenced Christian theology more than Romans. There is no need to be intimidated by the book of Romans. While Paul's letter is meaty, it is more than digestible if given the right context. You might find Romans to be easier to comprehend and more Torah positive than its reputation holds. The book of Romans serves as a longer and more far-reaching commentary than the shorter book of Galatians. If Galatians is the concentrate, Romans is the juice. Think of Romans as a comprehensive apology for Paul's overall doctrine, and Galatians as a more concentrated argument. They both share similar content, but Romans expands the argument further and wider. Now that you've already braved Galatians, Romans will be easier to navigate. If you're looking for an exhaustive, in-depth study of Paul's epistle to the Romans, you may be disappointed with my effort. I offer only a brief overview of Romans, but it will be sufficient for our purposes. We did most of the heavy lifting in the Galatians section, so I will only address those topics that have not already been covered there. Please keep in mind that I refine my attention to the portions of Romans that specifically address the Torah. Lies of our fathers, authorship. Paul identifies himself as the author in the very first verse. He likely dictated this letter to his friend Tertius sometime around AD 55 to 58, while in Corinth at the end of his third missionary journey. It appears that the letter was designed to prepare the Romans for his visit and explain the gospel of Jesus Christ as he proclaims it. To all who are in Rome, beloved of God, called to be saints, Romans 1:7a. Paul is writing to the believers in Rome, a church he did not establish and had not personally visited. Though Rome was in his heart, the apostle had never been to the city at this point. He was motivated to preach the gospel to the Romans, for he carried with him a heavenly promise that he would one day bear witness to Christ in Rome. This could explain why Paul does not address the Church of Rome as a whole, but writes to individual house churches and believers within the region. In the last chapter of his letter, Paul sends a personal greeting to 26 individuals and their households. He mentions 24 by name. Some scholars feel that chapter 16 is an addendum sent along with his original letter to Rome, which offers an explanation as to why Paul greets so many people. What matters most in our study is that Paul's letter is addressed to both Jews and Gentiles in Christ.